The year is rushing toward us, and with it, an unsettling sense of anticipation. Nostradamus, the enigmatic 16th century prophet, left behind cryptic warnings of a future that feels eerily close. Time and again, his chilling predictions have shaken the world, from global conflicts to natural disasters, from economic upheaval to the rise of powerful, mysterious figures. Now, his words seem to point directly at the days ahead. What if I told you that we could be standing at the brink of these very events? From revolutions brewing beneath the surface of society to catastrophic climate disasters that could forever alter the course of humanity, Nostradamus's words hold a mirror to the unsettling possibilities of our future. This isn't just speculation. This is a deep dive into 10 prophecies that are not only terrifying, but also disturbingly relevant. Stay with us, because the last 2 predictions will leave you questioning everything and could affect not just your life, but the lives of everyone you hold dear. Are you ready to face what might be coming? Let's begin. Economic collapse and the rise of cryptocurrencies. Nostradamus's cryptic verses have often hinted at monumental shifts in global power and economic systems. One such quatrain speaks of copies of gold and silver inflated, thrown into the lake. While his words leave much to interpretation, many see this as a forewarning of an economic collapse, an era where traditional currencies, long held as symbols of stability, begin to crumble under the weight of inflation and insurmountable debt. Our modern-day reality already reflects the cracks in these systems. Around the world, inflation is eroding the purchasing power of fiat currencies. Nations are burdened with staggering debts, forcing governments to print more money, which in turn only exacerbates the problem. Nostradamus's prophecy seems to capture this cycle of collapse, where even the strongest economies could falter, leaving citizens scrambling for alternatives. Enter the rise of cryptocurrencies, a digital revolution that could redefine the very concept of wealth. These decentralized assets, often referred to as the new gold, may hold the key to surviving and thriving in a post-collapse economy. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies have already shown their resilience in times of economic uncertainty, acting as a hedge against inflation and a beacon of hope for those seeking financial autonomy. However, Nostradamus's quatrain doesn't paint an entirely optimistic picture. All scripts and links will be removed, he writes, hinting that even digital currencies might face challenges, perhaps through government crackdowns, cyber threats, or technological failures. Could this be a warning of the fragile balance we're walking as we transition from physical to digital wealth? Whether you're an investor or an observer, Nostradamus's predictions remind us of one truth. The future of money is uncertain, but change is inevitable. As we move closer to a world where digital currencies could dominate, it's time to prepare for a financial system unlike anything we've seen before. The Space Age Predictions. Nostradamus's gaze wasn't confined to earthly matters. Among his enigmatic quatrains are hints of humanity reaching for the stars. He speaks of a young sage on the high mountain and hands on the torso, bodies on fire, imagery that many interpret as visions of space exploration, technological breakthroughs, and humanity's next great leap, the colonization of other worlds. The journey to the stars has already begun. Commercial space travel, once a dream, is now becoming a reality. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are leading the charge, turning space tourism into a burgeoning industry. By the mid-21st century, Nostradamus's predictions could align with humanity's first permanent settlements on the Moon or Mars, a daring step toward interplanetary colonization. But the prophecy doesn't stop there. Nostradamus speaks of the hollow mountains and the poisoned waters, which some believe refer to the challenges of space travel and survival. life beyond Earth will not come easily. We must conquer immense obstacles, from the perils of radiation to the psychological toll of long-term isolation in space. Yet, these difficulties may serve as the crucible that forges humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Looking further ahead, Nostradamus's cryptic verses hint at humanity venturing beyond our solar system. Could this be a nod to technologies yet undiscovered, wormholes, warp drives, or other methods to reach the stars? The prospect of interstellar exploration may sound like science fiction today, but Nostradamus's vision suggests a future where humanity's reach extends far beyond the Milky Way. However, the prophecy also carries a warning. The pursuit of the stars must not come at the cost of our humanity. If we lose sight of ethical considerations and the preservation of our own planet, the same technologies that elevate us could lead to our undoing. In Nostradamus's vision, the space age is both an incredible opportunity and a grave responsibility. As we prepare to step into this bold future, his words serve as a reminder to tread carefully, for the stars hold both promise and peril. King Charles and royal family turmoil. The British monarchy, one of the world's most iconic institutions, is no stranger to upheaval. But Nostradamus's quatrains suggest that 2025 could bring a level of turmoil unseen in modern history. His cryptic verse, "The King of the Isles driven out by force, replaced by one who has no mark of a king," has been interpreted by many as a warning of dramatic shifts within the royal family. At the heart of this prophecy is King Charles III, whose reign has already been marked by controversy and public scrutiny. Speculations abound that his position may become untenable, potentially leading to abdication. Nostradamus's mention of a ruler driven out by force suggests that the change might not be voluntary, hinting at widespread dissatisfaction or internal conflicts within the monarchy. What makes this prophecy even more intriguing is the suggestion that the successor might be someone unexpected. While Prince William, the direct heir, seems the natural choice, Nostradamus's words, "one with no mark of a king," have led some to theorize that Prince Harry, long regarded as the spare, could assume a more prominent role. This would be a shocking twist in royal history, given Harry's departure from traditional royal duties and his controversial public life in recent years. Beyond leadership changes, Nostradamus's writings also hint at broader turmoil within the royal family. Public trust in the monarchy has waned over the years, and unresolved issues, including scandals and strained relationships, could further erode its stability. Could 2025 mark the beginning of the end for the British monarchy as we know it? Whether this prophecy unfolds as expected or not, one thing is clear: the royal family is at a crossroads. Nostradamus's quatrains may serve as a forewarning of the challenges that lie ahead, both for the institution and for those who lead it. Natural disasters and volcanic eruptions. Nostradamus's quatrains are filled with ominous references to natural calamities, and 2025 may be a year marked by devastating geological events. In one of his chilling verses he writes, "The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods." This prediction has been linked to a series of catastrophic natural disasters, including earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, with Brazil emerging as a potential epicenter. Brazil, often referred to as the Garden of the World for its rich biodiversity, could face a devastating combination of disasters. Nostradamus's imagery, "poisoned waters by sulfur," has been interpreted as a warning of volcanic eruptions, possibly in regions with dormant or little-known volcanic activity. Recent scientific observations of rumblings near dormant volcanoes in South America lend credence to these fears. The quatrain also points to massive flooding, which could be triggered by both rising sea levels and extreme weather events. Brazil's Amazon basin, already vulnerable to deforestation and climate change, may suffer irreparable damage. The combination of volcanic ash and floodwaters could poison water supplies, devastate ecosystems, and displace millions of people. Globally, the ripple effects of these disasters could be profound. Food supplies might dwindle as farmland is destroyed, and the economic consequences could push vulnerable regions into deeper crises. Beyond Brazil, other regions prone to seismic activity, like the Pacific Ring of Fire, could also experience significant earthquakes and eruptions. Nostradamus's warnings align eerily with the challenges of our times, reminding us of the unpredictable power of nature. His quatrains serve as a sobering reminder that no corner of the world is immune to its wrath. As we look ahead to 2025, perhaps his prophecies are less about fear and more about preparation, urging humanity to adapt, mitigate risks, and respect the fragile balance of the planet we call home. The rise of a Middle Eastern Antichrist. Among Nostradamus's most chilling prophecies is the prediction of the third Antichrist, a figure of immense power, cunning, and malevolence who will plunge the world into chaos. In one of his cryptic quatrains he writes, "Out of the east shall arise a great leader, one who will deceive and destroy. His words will captivate, but his actions will devastate." Many believe this is a forewarning of a Middle Eastern figure whose rise will have global ramifications. Nostradamus's writings describe three antichrists over the course of history. The first two, commonly interpreted as Napoleon and Hitler, were harbingers of war and suffering on an unprecedented scale. The third, however, is said to bring about events so catastrophic they may culminate in what some interpret as the apocalypse. The identity of this figure remains a mystery, with theories ranging from political leaders to ideological movements. What is consistent is the depiction of someone emerging from the Middle East, a region already fraught with geopolitical tensions and power struggles. This prophecy aligns with modern fears about escalating conflicts and instability in the region. The Middle East remains a hotbed of territorial disputes, ideological divides, and superpower interventions, creating fertile ground for a charismatic but destructive leader to emerge. Nostradamus suggests that this figure will unite factions through promises of peace and prosperity, only to betray them with acts of violence and conquest. The implications of this rise extend far beyond the region. According to the prophecy, this Antichrist will wield influence on a global scale, dragging nations into conflict and further destabilizing an already fragile world order. Whether through military might, ideological warfare, or manipulation of resources, this figure's actions could ignite events that resonate worldwide. While Nostradamus's quatrains are open to interpretation, they serve as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of unchecked ambition and divisive leadership. In a time when global unity is more critical than ever, his warnings urge vigilance and a commitment to peace to prevent such a dark future from becoming reality. Deadly pestilence and global famine. Nostradamus's predictions about pestilence and famine paint a grim picture of humanity's future, a world struggling to survive in the face of disease, starvation, and environmental collapse. He writes, "Plague upon plague shall spread across lands, the fields barren, the waters poisoned, and hunger shall consume the nations." This haunting vision reflects a convergence of crises that could devastate populations on an unprecedented scale. The French seer's prophecy speaks to the interconnected challenges of environmental degradation, overpopulation, and the spread of deadly diseases. As natural ecosystems are disrupted by human activity, new pathogens emerge and old ones resurface with greater ferocity. Climate change, with its extremes of drought and flooding, exacerbates these issues, destroying crops, contaminating water supplies and triggering mass migrations. Global famine is a central theme in this prediction. Nostradamus's warning of barren fields and poisoned waters resonates deeply in today's world, where agriculture faces mounting threats from changing weather patterns and soil depletion. Regions already vulnerable to food insecurity could become epicenters of crisis, with millions pushed to the brink of starvation. The cascading effects, political instability, social unrest, and economic collapse would leave no nation untouched. Adding to this dire scenario is the risk of a pandemic-level pestilence. Nostradamus's prophecy eerily mirrors fears of global outbreaks like COVID-19 and other zoonotic diseases. As human populations expand into previously untouched habitats, the likelihood of pathogen spillovers increases, creating the conditions for a catastrophic outbreak. A global pandemic combined with widespread famine could push healthcare systems and humanitarian efforts to their breaking points. While Nostradamus's prophecies often evoke fear, they can also serve as a call to action. Addressing environmental degradation, improving food systems, and strengthening global health infrastructure are critical steps to mitigating the risks he foretold. His warnings remind us of humanity's fragility in the face of nature's power and the need for collective responsibility to prevent these apocalyptic visions from becoming reality. The end of the Ukraine conflict. Nostradamus's prophecies often reflect themes of prolonged struggle followed by resolution, and his forewarnings about the Ukraine conflict seem no different. In one of his quatrains, he alludes to armies worn thin, coffers drained, and peace forged through exhaustion rather than diplomacy. This ominous description suggests that the ongoing conflict, which has already claimed countless lives and destabilized a region, may finally see resolution, not through decisive victory, but through sheer necessity as resources dwindle and global pressures mount. The war in Ukraine has already become one of the most significant military confrontations in recent European history. With vast expenditures and prolonged fighting, it has tested the endurance of both nations involved and drawn the world's attention. Nostradamus hints at a turning point driven by economic and military depletion. As the quatrain suggests, gold and silver will give way to leather and brass, a poetic way of describing the scarcity of resources and the improvisation that nations may be forced into as the war drags on. What's intriguing about this prophecy is its implication of international intervention. Nostradamus makes cryptic references to the crescent and the eagle, symbols that some interpret as Turkey and the United States, or NATO allies more broadly. These nations, along with others, may play crucial roles in brokering peace or providing aid as the conflict reaches its breaking point. However, Nostradamus also warns that this peace may come at a steep price, with long-lasting consequences. The cost of rebuilding, the loss of life, and the political fallout could leave deep scars on the global stage. The resolution of the Ukraine conflict may mark an end to one chapter of turmoil, but it could also set the stage for new tensions as alliances shift and power balances realign. As nations strive to heal from this devastating conflict, Nostradamus's words remind us of the human cost of war and the fragile nature of peace. Whether his predictions will unfold as described remains to be seen, but they underscore the urgency of diplomatic solutions in avoiding further devastation. World War III and geopolitical tensions. Few of Nostradamus's prophecies evoke as much fear as his predictions of a Third World War. In one of his most chilling quatrains, he writes, "The great ocean trembles beneath the red flag, nations clash, and the waters turn to blood." This forewarning points to escalating geopolitical tensions that could ignite a global conflict, with a particular emphasis on naval battles and confrontations involving powerful nations. Interpreters of Nostradamus's work often associate these warnings with the rising tensions in Asia, particularly around China. The mention of the red flag is frequently linked to China's growing assertiveness, especially in contested regions like the South China Sea and Taiwan. The prophet's descriptions of combat on the waves and dread in the great ocean suggest that naval warfare could play a pivotal role in this potential conflict, involving alliances such as NATO. The parallels to current events are unsettling. The ongoing disputes over maritime sovereignty, coupled with military buildups and frequent naval exercises in the Pacific, mirror the kind of scenarios Nostradamus describes. Analysts today warn that a miscalculation or provocation in these contested waters could escalate into a larger confrontation, drawing in major global powers. Nostradamus also implies that this conflict could involve new and unconventional forms of warfare. His writings about fire from the skies and forces unseen hint at the potential use of advanced technologies such as cyber warfare, drones, and space-based weaponry. These modern tools of destruction could redefine how wars are fought and magnify their impact on civilian populations. While the prophecy is grim, it also serves as a stark warning. The potential for World War III, while terrifying, highlights the critical need for diplomacy, de-escalation, and international cooperation. Nostradamus's words remind us of the fragility of global peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression. As nations navigate these turbulent waters, the hope remains that humanity will heed the lessons of history and choose paths of peace rather than repeating the catastrophic mistakes of the past. Nostradamus's warnings, though dire, serve as a call for vigilance and unity in preventing the unthinkable. Social revolutions and civil unrest. Nostradamus foretold a time when the inequalities of society would spark revolutions and upheavals, shaking the foundations of nations. In one quatrain he wrote, "The fire will burn in the hearts of cities. The cries of the oppressed will reach the heavens." This vivid imagery is often interpreted as a prophecy of widespread civil unrest, with people rising against perceived injustices in their societies. As we look at the world today, this prediction feels eerily relevant. Economic disparities, racial and gender inequalities, and political corruption have already ignited protests and movements across the globe. Nostradamus's warnings suggest that these tensions will reach a boiling point, leading to a wave of social revolutions in the coming years. One of the most fascinating interpretations of this prophecy links it to the transformative power of technology. Nostradamus mentions a new force that will amplify the voices of the oppressed, which many believe refers to the role of social media and digital platforms in modern activism. From the Arab Spring to movements like Black Lives Matter, technology has already proven to be a catalyst for social change, enabling people to organize and mobilize on an unprecedented scale. However, the prophecy also warns of the chaos that can accompany such uprisings. Nostradamus describes smoke rising from the cities and the fall of kings and queens, hinting at the destabilizing effects of these revolutions on governments and institutions. The fire he speaks of is both literal and metaphorical, representing destruction and the passion for change. The question remains, will these upheavals lead to a better, more equitable world, or will they plunge societies into further division and instability? Nostradamus offers no clear answer, leaving it to humanity to decide the outcome. His words are a reminder of the power of collective action and the responsibility that comes with it. As the seeds of change are sown, it will be up to leaders and citizens alike to shape the future. The spiritual battle and mental warfare. Among Nostradamus's more cryptic prophecies is one that speaks of an invisible battle, not fought with weapons, but within the minds of humanity. He wrote, "Darkness will cloud the thoughts of many. The struggle for the soul will intensify." This foreboding quatrain is often interpreted as a warning about the rise of spiritual and psychological challenges in a modern, increasingly disconnected world. This prophecy resonates deeply in an era marked by mental health crises, societal polarization, and the pervasive influence of technology. Nostradamus seems to warn of a silent force infiltrating the minds of people, which some interpret as the manipulation of information, mass surveillance, or the addictive nature of social media. These forces, though intangible, have a profound impact on human behavior, relationships, and decision-making. He also alludes to a great deceiver, often linked to the Antichrist, or a symbolic representation of widespread falsehoods and ideologies. This deception could manifest as propaganda, disinformation campaigns, or the erosion of truth in public discourse. Nostradamus's words caution us to remain vigilant, questioning what we see and hear, and to guard our minds against manipulation. On a personal level, this prophecy also speaks to the internal struggles faced by individuals. The clouding of thoughts could represent the mental health challenges that have become increasingly prevalent, from anxiety and depression to burnout and loneliness. Nostradamus's warnings remind us of the importance of nurturing our mental and spiritual well-being in the face of these pressures. In this invisible war, the greatest weapons are knowledge, awareness, and resilience. By seeking truth, building strong communities, and focusing on what truly matters, humanity can rise above the chaos predicted by Nostradamus. His words are not just a warning, but a call to action, urging us to strengthen our minds and spirits in preparation for the battles ahead.